Hello, so this is group 2. We're doing our case study analysis on the Cask and Cleaver work crew. It's going to be presented by myself, Alexis, Oscar, Yair, and Abby. Okay, so introduction, first things first. In this case study, the Cask and Cleaver work crew, we examine how this small group communication can benefit from conflict management and team building strategies. As a group, we will discuss the common types and causes of conflict that arise within teams, specifically regarding this case study, and what processes can be taken to better moral and interpersonal relationships. As discussed in the case study, finding common ground on a tense subject can be hard to compromise, but in hopes of creating a stronger team, it can be possible. By investigating the Cask and Cleaver work crew, we follow a diverse group that is having trouble finding solutions to everyone's schedules. Being that some members are full-time and have seniority over other members that are fairly new and have busy college schedules to keep in mind. Therefore, this dispute is not as simple as it appears, but more complex, rooted in substantive task and emotional relationship team conflicts. As we know from our own experiences, being a part of group work in the past, situations like these can be hard, but there can be compromise. Strategies such as clarifying what the main goal of the meeting is, looking for overlapping morals or areas that can be settled, and finding a solution that solves the main motive of the group are all measures that should be taken. Follow group 2 as we find solutions to what is deemed a complicated situation, in which we suggest a plan that will work for everyone involved. Background information and facts. Given the information that can be derived from the case study, we know that the Cask and Cleaver is a local restaurant in California's Central Valley. The restaurant holds semi-annual meetings to discuss work shifts for the next 6 months. The meetings are usually presented in the style of round robin and consist of 8 to 9 servers. How this works is that the server with the most seniority gets to choose first, followed by the second, third, and so on until all the shifts are covered. However, what must be kept in mind is that the more active the restaurant is, the more tips servers are expected to receive, meaning that the busiest time slots are likely to be the most coveted. As you can tell, this can start to present a lot of problems, and it does. When the servers first commenced their meeting, they knew that the first person to choose would be Mark, since he naturally had the most seniority, being that he has worked there for many years, and the seniority goes down from there. This style has run smoothly for the past 20 years. However, this year it does not. During the last round, Mark realized that he had been skipped over in one of the previous rounds, and therefore less senior servers received more hours than him. In hopes of remedying the situation, he suggests starting the rounds again. But to his surprise, servers Tom and Paul were very content with their schedules this go around. And because the last 6 months they had the worst schedules of all and finally felt satisfied with the turnout. Even though Tom and Paul shared their distaste for starting the rounds again, they hesitantly agreed. Unlike last time, the servers started to choose differently, and the schedule seemed to favor Mark and Mark's wife, Beth. And sadly, again, Tom and Paul were left with the worst shifts. After finding that Tom and Paul were going to have to work the worst shifts once more, they suggested a redo. But Mark and Beth had their minds set on their schedules and refused to start over again, outright stating, "It is not my problem that you have 2 night classes." Now rightfully upset, Tom and Paul formed a clique with Nathan, another server who felt duped as well. All 3 stated that Mark and his wife were callous and did not even consider that they do not have alternative course options to choose from. The 3 men were then characterized as self-centered and unsympathetic to the financial needs of others. Mark, Beth, and their friend Maria felt that their college should not be their problem and stated that the other men were crybabies and were looking for special treatment. In the following, we will discuss what situations can be looked into and how the implementation of such methods can be used to help alleviate group conflict. I will now be passing the presentation to Yair with the evaluation.
When we were evaluating the Cask and the Cleaver work crew, we can see that the groups didn't candidly communicate and appropriately support other members. The members wouldn't support the other members' opinions about the problem. The people in the group would argue that the shifts were not fair and they would always argue instead of trying to find a solution to their problem. The group members would continue to argue about the shifts not being fair. Tom and Paul were university students and they argued about not changing shifts because they got good shifts and that could help them work around work and school. We believe that the organization did not identify possible solutions that meet the solution criteria because instead of the group trying to find a better and appropriate solution to the problem, they argued and they didn't try to help please other people in the group. We feel like group members didn't skillfully communicate with one another. We feel like there could have been another better way that they could have communicated by. The thing that is not working between this group is their communication. Their communication needs to get better because they communicate poorly and don't listen to each and every one of the members' opinions. Also, they are not nice to each other. To the group members, Tom and Paul were crybabies, and that does not sound like a good thing to say to your group members. While reading the Cask and the Cleaver work crew, we think that there is nothing good that is working for the group. The organization did not use variety of methods to develop a workable implementation plan. The only method that was used to fix the problem was to redo the schedule. The organization did not try to find a different method to try to please the rest of the group members, and so each one of them can be happy with their shifts. Overall, we believe the communication between this organization wasn't good and they need to improve it. The organization needs to work on their communication skills and they also need to work on hearing each and one of the group members' opinions. Also, group members shouldn't talk bad about each other and instead try to help one another. I will be passing on the presentation to Oscar.
When it comes to solutions and problems within a group, it is important to understand the steps that are within problem solving. The steps goes as follows. Identify the problem, analyze the problem, describe the problem, look for the root cause, develop alternative solutions, implement the solutions, and measure the results. The root issue to the Cask and Cleaver work group case study is that they can't seem to figure out a way to divide the work shifts to where everyone is content. In order for this conflict to be resolved, it would have to target multiple areas to fix. There are 3 areas that need fixing in the case study. The first area causing the problems is some members are dominant and disrupt the group interaction by being loud and noisy. The second point that needs fixing is that the group has 2 members who are not willing to give their thoughts and want to stay neutral. Before getting into which solution I think would work best, I first want to talk about which problem-solving technique would be very helpful to fixing this case study. The technique we believe that would be most useful would be the nominal group technique. The nominal group technique is basically a structured method for group brainstorming that encourages contributions from everyone and facilitates quick agreement on the relative importance of the issues. The great advantage to this method is that it avoids 2 problems caused by the group interactions. There are some members who are reluctant to share their views and choose to stay quiet, which you can't have happen when there is a group disagreement that needs to be solved. Some members are dominant and disruptive to the group by being loud and noisy, which is another thing you can't have happen because now you're creating a non-coexisting work environment. Everyone first quietly brainstorms individually without consulting anyone, and then writes down their idea on a piece of paper. This way, everyone gets to say their idea. Now that eliminates people being neutral and gets everyone involved. Also, communication would be improved because everyone is getting a chance to be vocal, rather than some people not wanting to give opinions because some staff members wanted to be loud and overbearing. After all the ideas are mentioned, then the staff members will clarify their ideas. The one that sounds better to everyone will be the one idea that they move on with and prioritize. It can be a huge improvement over the previous thing they had, which was seniority. This also cuts out any sort of negative feelings within the staff, which is a very important factor to have, because the last thing you want to happen is the disruption of the group. There won't be a huge sense of animosity since the decision was a group-based effort and one they had to respect. The best solution that we feel would work best within the nominal group technique would be an anonymous consensus. What I mean by that is that everyone writes down on a piece of paper if they should do another do-over or not. This way it is a fair process and no one has to feel like they have to be blamed. It is also helping the group decision because now everyone can write what they want without being feel like or influenced by other group members. The way this would go about is that the group will put their decisions inside of an object, and then the votes will be counted up by whoever. The decision with the most votes would be the one they go with. If the decision happens to not be a do-over, then they will simply continue picking the shifts from where they left off. They should stop any argument and make the problem go away since it was a collective vote. If the decision happens to be calling another do-over, at that point, let that be the final schedule pick and everyone gets stuck with the choice they pick. This way, everyone is happy and they can prioritize their work as a group. The solution also gets the quiet people involved rather than them just being on the so-called sideline. Afterwards, there should not be any sort of conflict since it was unanimous and completely fair to everyone, because everyone had a chance to participate. A second solution that I would feel that would work and make everyone content would be to scrap the seniority rule they had in place. The reason for getting rid of this rule is because it seems to be the base of the issue that's going on currently. Instead of having everyone pick in order of seniority, they could draw numbers from a hat. The number will indicate the order everyone will get to pick their schedules. This way, there is no bias towards anyone and it's strictly based on how lucky you are in the drawing. Also, this allows people who may have had a bad schedule plan to at least have a shot at getting a good one. Also, there wouldn't be any sorts of complaints because the picking would be random, so it can benefit anyone. The solution also draws some aspects of the first solution, but in a more random way. This solution is meant more for a clean slate. What I mean by that is no one is ahead of anyone. So that alone already takes out the original problem that was plaguing the group at first. All these solutions were thought of by using the problem-solving solution as a base. Each one of the solutions require you to identify the problem, analyze the problem, describe the problem, look for the root cause, develop alternative solutions, implement the solutions, and measure the results. The solution given involves the entire group to work together for a solution. It also makes those who normally wouldn't want to talk or wait or want to pick sides to participate by allowing them to say what they want to say without having to worry. Now that allows the group to get back to work and get back on with their priorities, which is important and also helps keep the cohesiveness of the group. Now I pass it on to Abby.
So a plan of action needs to be immediately take place in this situation. The solution that we feel is best for the team would be an anonymous census, which is anonymous voting by writing the response on a piece of paper of whether they should have a do-over or not. Some strategies may be to use heuristics and apply algorithms. Heuristics is when you enable someone to learn, and algorithms is a set of rules. It helps to really break the problem down and figure out which best steps need to be chosen in order to find that solution. The team really needs to come together to lay out and discuss all of the issues about how it is affecting everyone as a team. They need to also set rules and enable others to learn why those rules need to be set or why the issue is a problem if they do not understand. This process needs to be taken step by step and never rushed, because if the process is rushed, there will not be a beneficial outcome for the team, which is unfair and waste time for everyone, and those especially who were looking to really take it seriously. A strategy is a way that the group plans to get their issues solved and is left more specific than an action plan going straight to the point, while also listing all of the steps the restaurant needs to make in order to have a successful outcome. Once they have come together to discuss the issues and come into an agreement about choosing to do an anonymous census, this way the team will feel that they are being heard and it will all be fair because everyone will answer on their own without any influence from another. They are open to completely believing what they feel is best and not be intimidated by Mark or Beth, since they do not want things to start over. It is always very important to follow the strategies step by step. That way the group does not feel that it does not need to be serious about the situation, because if the steps are not being followed and are constantly being mixed up, there will be no solution. The group also is in need of guidance and needs to be guided to take this course of action in order to better their work life and others. When a group creates a step-by-step process to solve the issue there at the restaurant, it allows for the group to go through each one of the steps in an orderly manner and shows that they are looking to really solve the issue there in the restaurant appropriately and with an effective solution for everyone. All of the team members there at the restaurant should be treated fairly regardless how long you have been working there. They should all be given fair working schedules rather than only some getting good working schedules while the other staff members take on the awful hours. Overall, we feel that the best solution is to use heuristics, apply algorithms, and lay out the errors they have in order for the group to really understand and come up with a solution for those issues. Now I will pass it back to Alexis.
So this will be the conclusion of our case study analysis. Although examined, analyzed in some depth, we as a group have helped one another in producing possible solutions to the substantive and emotional conflicts that are being displayed in the case study, the Cask and Cleaver work crew. As we discussed previously, to begin problem solving is essential to follow the steps of identifying the problem, analyzing the problem, developing alternative solutions, implementing the solution, and finally measuring the results. Furthermore, it has been recommended that the nominal group technique be used to eradicate complacent behavior from those who do not have the chance to engage with more aggressive group members. Since the nominal technique is the group process of provoking problem identification, solution generation, and decision making, generally used to make their decision quickly through anonymous voting, but wanting everyone's opinions to be taken into account. As we continue to progress as a small group, we can take advantage of the techniques aforementioned and reference the Cask and Cleaver work crew case study as a lesson, and therefore begin to integrate strategies that will provide solutions that accumulatively benefit everyone, even those that do not choose to share their opinions regularly. Thank you.
We can move.